Welcome to the VarsityKansas.com Big Show. I am Joanna Chadwick of the Wichita Eagle and VarsityKansas.com, and it is state championship week. We are wrapping up 2013-2014, and my guest today is the esteemed Don Steffens.
Well, thank you very much. 40
years that he has done the state track meet that he has announced it, so thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's the best 2 days of my year.
Well, you look forward to this. Tell me why you look forward to it so much.
You know, it's hard to explain. I think part of it is the coming together of all the athletes from all over the state. I mean, high school sports is so pure, and very few of the kids really are even worried about scholarships. Most of them are there to compete, to see who's the best. And I fell in love with it as a sophomore in high school, and I just still enjoy it very much. I get to work at a whole lot of very high-level meets all over the place, but the state high school meet here in Kansas is still my favorite. So.
Because you were just recently at, where were you calling a meet recently?
Well, I did the Pac-12 meet 2 weeks ago. The RMAC, which is Western State and Adams State, it's a D2 conference, the weekend before. And then this past weekend I was at the NCAA Division II meet. So.
Yeah, so if you didn't think that he was qualified, he's certainly got it going on. All right.
Well, I have a great time, I'll tell you that, Joanna. So.
Well, and you know, I was thinking as we were talking before we started taping here at KSN, I was thinking, you know, you cram a lot of information into your brain. Mm-hmm. And I know Carol Swenson is very good about giving you some of that information. How do you remember all of this?
Well, Jenna, I've always said I don't really know a whole lot about track and field. I just know where to look. Now, the thing that scares me as I get older, if I start forgetting where to look, that's going to be the scary part. But I started doing track and field stuff back in the 60s, and I have a nice feel for things that have happened throughout that time period, and I've tried to learn every year that I've done things who some of the great athletes are, and I can always bring up a few, and it's my cup of tea.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about this week, and what we're going to do is just kind of talk about some of the top athletes that you're looking forward to seeing that maybe we should be looking for. So who do you want to start with?
Well, the nationally ranked athletes, of course, are the ones most people look at, and there's a young man up in Ottawa, Kansas, that's the nation's leader, and I did say nation's leader in both the shot put and discus throw, and that's Cord Ferguson, and he's thrown the shot put around 67 feet plus, and he's thrown the discus 210 feet plus, I think. And just coincidentally, the man who owns the state meet record in both of those events, Clint Johnson, was nationally ranked #1 back when he was in high school at Shawnee Mission South, and he is still coaching at Shawnee Mission South. He's in another business, but he coaches just to be helpful. So Clint Johnson will be there watching as Cord Ferguson is throwing after his record. So
that's going to be pretty interesting to watch.
Should be. You know, we've got a great throwing area outside of the stadium, and Jeff Bileski, who is a former state champion and a former All-Missouri Valley runner for Wichita State, announces those two events, the javelin and the discus, and he does a good job out there. And Cord will be fun to watch. He's been very consistent this year. He's thrown up in well over 200 feet in the discus more than just the one time, so he's not a fluke. He was one of the nation's top throwers last year as a junior, so he's the real deal. And fortunately, he's going to come to school here at Wichita State, so that'll be fun to watch him throughout his career. So.
And you know, that's one of the interesting things too, is that when you cover the state meet and then you find out the number of kids that are going to Wichita State, you know, one of the ones who I continually think about is Austin Bonner, who is from Heights. Mm-hmm. And you know, he was such a good athlete at Heights. I remember in Perry Ellis's first game, it was played at Coke Arena, it was Austin Bonner who got the crowd going crazy because he dunked. And that kid has gone on to be an amazing athlete at Wichita State.
Yes, he has. He's been an All-American a couple times. He'll probably go to Eugene again this year for the NCAA championships. He was indoors at Albuquerque, and he's a nice young man, very well-mannered, just a great kid and a hard worker and very talented. And last year I went to the NCAA championships in Eugene, and as I walked up to the stadium, they have the world's best announcer there named Frank Zarnowski. And he's from Maryland. And as I walked up to the stadium, I heard, and in the long jump with a new personal best, Austin Bonner of Wichita State. And about 10 minutes later, I heard, and in the high jump of the women's heptathlon, Tanya Friesen, who's from Buhler.
That's right.
And so I walk in the stadium and I hear the world's greatest announcer mentioning 2 kids that I've known since they were freshmen in high school.
And 2 kids that you would have announced at state.
Yes, indeed.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah, it's terrific. That's what makes it, yes, what makes it fun. There it is right there.
That's great.
And Steve Reinbold at Wichita State has just done an incredible job of recruiting Kansas kids for both men and women. It's what he's done at Wichita State is just incredible.
I would agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, who else do you want to talk about?
Well, there's another national caliber person who's been injured a bit from Lawrence Free State. Her name's Alexa Harmon Thomas, and she's known as much for her name as she is her talent, but her dad was Derek Thomas, the great Kansas City Chief football player who died. But Alexa has been nationally ranked in several events throughout her career, and she's probably best known as a heptathlete, and she'll go to the University of Texas next year as a heptathlete. But she's also ranked among the top 10 all-time in the hurdles, both hurdles. I think 11th in the 100 hurdles, and then number 2 in the 300 hurdles. So we could have a shot at a all-time state best in the women's 300 hurdles this weekend. If the weather is nice and it's warm, and she's come up, she's had a bit of an injury all year. So if she comes off of that and is ready to run, and I think she is, she's only in the 2 individual events, so she might be pretty fresh for that 300-meter hurdle race. So watch that.
All right.
Another one is a young lady from Winfield, Courtney Griffiths, that at the Wichita State meet back in April, she won 4 individual events, 100, 200, 400, and 800. And she's ranked among the top 3 in Class 4A in the 200, 400, and 800. And maybe the most interesting race there will be, she'll be running against Morgan Lober of Baldwin. Morgan's ranked number 1 in the 400 overall in the state now, not just in 4A, but Morgan's ranked number 1, and Griffiths is ranked number 2 overall. So that girls 4A 400 will be a fascinating race to watch. As I told you a little bit earlier, I kind of compare Griffiths a little bit, and we'll be interested to see, she's just a junior, how she compares with, there was a girl back in '92 that set the nation's number 1 800 time as a senior. Her name was Christy Closter of Bishop Mies. Now, Christy won state championships here in Kansas all the way from the 200 up to cross country. They were running 2 miles then. And I've always called her the most versatile runner in Kansas history. And she went on to be an NCAA champion at KU in the 800. So we'll see how Griffiths does. You hate to make comparisons because that puts some unnecessary pressure on people. But she's a great runner. Both she and Lober are good. It's going to be fun to watch those 2. So.
Okay, well, and I'm always impressed when you see the kids who do the 1, 2, 4, and 8, because we just don't see that much anymore.
Nope. And there's a young man that you've mentioned that's from Heston, who's very versatile also on the guys' side, and he's qualified, I think, among the top 20 in the 100 and the top 10 in the 200 and right up toward the top in the 400, Shadler.
Yeah, Ryan Shadler. And we talked about him beforehand because this is a kid who fascinates me. You know, here he is an all-metro football player. He went for over 2,000 yards as a running back. He plays in the basketball team that goes unbeaten and wins a state title. And he's going to Wichita State for track. And
wow.
Yeah, and he's a kid who's extremely versatile. Love seeing those types of kids.
That's wonderful to see, because there was a young man from Dodge City that was much like him that came to WSU, and he actually won the 400 3 times in the Missouri Valley. So Steve knows how to pick them.
That's right.
He picks kids that have talent and that want to be coached. And they've got a great coaching staff at Wichita State. And Shadler, I think, ran real well here at the KT Woodman meet back in April. And another one now, Shadler's from a 3A school, Heston, and there's another one that's interesting on the boys' side that's from a 1A school. His name's Caden Calloway, and he leads the state. I always get this mixed up, but he's number 1 in the state in the 3,200. And then a kid from where is Gwen from? Sam Gwynn from Blue Valley Northwest is number 1 in the 1,600. Then they flip-flop. Caden is number 2 in the 1,600, and Gwynn is number 2 in the 3,200. So here we'll have the 2 extremes there in terms of what makes Kansas high school so great. We've got a 1A kid that's a state leader, and we got a 6A kid that's a state leader, and they're virtually equal in talent. So.
And that to me is the best thing, is that there is nothing else like it in anything we do in high school sports in Kansas, and other states don't do it either. We're the biggest state track meet. Kansas has the biggest state track meet over 2 days.
Right.
And you can go, and it doesn't matter what class you're in. If you're good because you're putting up the times, you're putting up the distance.
Right. And I'd like to put those two guys as distance running times in kind of a historical perspective. And that is that Caden Calloway's got a best of 9:09.52 in the 3,200, and Gwynn's at 9:12.07. Well, Jim Ryan, the great world record holder, three-time Olympian, state meet champion, he ran 9:11 in high school. So these guys are both, of course, it's been 40 years ago, but these guys are running times pretty equal to what Jim Ryan ran back in high school.
Pretty cool.
It's good. They're among the state's all-time best. So
it's good to see.
Another one who's on the state list is, and she's a multi-event, multi-sport athlete, is Karen Swenson from Mays. She's ranked number 7 nationally in the javelin throw at 155 something, and then there's 3 other girls here in the state that are ranked among the top 20 all time in the state of Kansas. So, of course, the javelin's an event where not every state in the union, I think only about a third of the states throw it, but she is still ranked, and because of that, schools from all over the country come here and recruit the javelin throw because the kids know how to throw it. And Kieran's, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
You're doing a great job.
She's a good javelin thrower. Her coach was a Missouri Valley all conference performer in the decathlon, and he was from Southwestern Heights, Jared Handy, and so he knew how to teach it. So he's got good javelin throwers, and
yep,
that'll be a fun event to watch.
Kieran's a volleyball player, outstanding volleyball player, and she's going to be going to only a junior, but she's going to be signing with Tulsa for basketball. She was an all-metro basketball player too. So
good for her.
You see a similarity between a lot of these kids that we talk about is a lot of them are multi-sport athletes. I love it.
Well, we had a track club in Andover when our children were younger. I started one out there, and our whole goal was not to dominate, but to teach. And our goal was to teach kids how to do track and field. And we'd say, if you've got a volleyball game, or you've got a baseball game, or a soccer game, go do it. We're not trying to control your lives. We want you to learn about track and field. And I think that's what's happened with a lot of these kids. Now, many of them are dedicated to, like Jared's daughter didn't do track this spring because she wanted to concentrate on basketball. And more power to her. She'll probably be a very good collegiate basketball player, but she was a good track athlete too. So another good guy to watch in the sprints is Joe Regan of Topeka Seaman. He's just on the verge of being nationally ranked in the 100 and 200, and he's just a junior also, just like the Winfield girl, and he's right on the verge of being national caliber. And he may just break through this weekend. If we don't have much wind, we're going to see some things happen, I think, this weekend. Great. So, there's another young man from, maybe he was a football player, I don't know, but Trenton Hammond of Liberal. He's ranked among the top all-time in the state of Kansas, and he's a good, I think he just made it in 300
He
hurdles.
did. He false started in the 110 hurdles. That was so disappointing to see. I really wanted to see that race.
Another girl that was nationally ranked as a freshman at Andover High School is Jalen Agnew. Now, she's another
She is
talented
volleyball, basketball.
Yep, she does it all, and who knows? She's even become a sprinter this year. She qualified to state in the 200. So
just goes to show, try a little something. Who knows what you can do, right?
Yep. And Mike Lee, is the football coach at Andover, and so he's not afraid to try people in different things. And I think she's qualified in a relay. And she's a state leader in the high jump, but if they get up to 5'10", and she was, I think, 5'11" as a freshman, they will be among the top 20, maybe the top 10 in the entire United States. So there's some talented folks here in the state of Kansas. So
another one you had mentioned too was Braden Smith from Olathe South, the thrower. A
lot of the eyes have been on it. Apparently, he's a football player and signed with one of the big schools, but he's ranked among the top 10. I think I've got him written down here somewhere. He's ranked number 10 all time in the shot put at 63 feet and a 195.3, which is number 11 all time in the discus. And you know, there was a guy that went to school at KU a few years ago. He was ranked number 1 in the discus throw from Colorado, named Jared Finley, and he's now at Wyoming. But apparently the whole family moved to Lawrence, and he's got 2 sisters that are both ranked among the top 10 or so in the state. Mattia Finley is, I think, now number 11 or something like that, all time in the discus throws. So Lawrence reaped a lot of benefits from him coming to school there. He was a 70-foot shot putter back in high school. So, and he came here, and so it'll be a great meet to watch, Joanna.
Definitely. Well, one thing on Braden Smith, he was a 2-time top 11 player for us.
Wow.
Going to Auburn. And another one I wanted to mention was Dominic Fonseca, who I'll be writing about. He's got a great story. I'm excited for everyone to read that in the Wichita Eagle on Friday and on VarsityKansas.com.
Well, he was an all-state performer in cross country, and he'll be at this state meet, and he's ranked number 2, I guess, in the nation in the steeplechase. He's run 6:06. It's not a real commonly run event, but the kids run it at the National Junior Meet, which is going to be at Eugene this summer, and it's great to see kids like that around. And I want to mention somebody that back in the 80s and 90s, we didn't have a lot of great distance runners coming out of the Wichita area, but one person who did, and I always ask her dad about it, is how she's doing nowadays, and that's a girl named Amber Kennedy. Well, she placed among the top 20 in the state of Kansas, and she happens to be the daughter of Mike Kennedy, the great announcer at Wichita State. And she went to state 2 years, I think, is in cross country, and it hadn't been done in Wichita since a girl named Mears back in the late 70s from Heights. So it was fun to watch. And Mike ran cross country too at, I think, Southeast. So one other person I'd like to mention, Joanna, is a young lady named Allie Cash, who ran for Shawnee Mission West, ran the all-time state meet record of 4:52 2 years ago as a junior, and didn't run it all last year outdoor. I think she ran one race and didn't run at state, and I was her biggest fan, and I was disappointed not to see her run, but she had signed at Oregon, and when I was at the Pac-12 meet, she just missed qualifying for the final in the Pac-12 1,500 meter run by 1 second. So and then I talked to her for a minute after the meet, and she really didn't know me from Adam, and she said, well, I ran a 5,000 on Sunday and I set a personal best in the 2 mile en route to running 5,000 meters. So she really had a positive experience running for the greatest program in the United States. And with that being said, 2 of our boy distance runners, Steve Fine of Shawnee Mission Northwest ran out there at Oregon back in the 90s, I believe it was. And then an East High guy named Archie Santormani Jr. ran there back in the 60s. And Archie's part of several of my trivia questions at state meets. So
keep that in mind.
Yes, yes. So, But that's, I think, a pretty good summary of team-wise. I don't really follow it very much, Joanna. I know Olathe East is powerful in 6A. I also know that Lawrence High and Lawrence Free State, I did the Shawnee Mission North relays a couple weeks ago, and they dominated it. I mean, they just dominated it, those 2 schools combined. So it'll be interesting to see who does well at the state meet. I don't do anything with the awards presentations, so I'm always interested to see who did well at state, so team-wise.
Right.
And the individual stuff, Carol Swenson and McPherson makes most of these statistics really work. He compiles lists that most states would be jealous of. He compiles the all-time, the state meet leaders from this year, 25 or 30 deep. He compiles a list of all the league champions from across the state. He compiles the all-time state list, performance list that lets us put it all into perspective. And he and I have been doing this together for 40 years. And he graduated from K-State in '68, and I graduated from KU in '68. He was a manager at K-State, and I was a manager at KU. So we both have very similar backgrounds. The big difference is, of course, that Carol is also statewide recognized because he does this stuff in basketball, he does it in wrestling, he does it in football. So he's an amazing statistician. And the state of Kansas from a 1A school named Alta Vista, and he's just a wonderful guy.
No, I would agree with that. Well, two of the most wonderful guys I know, you and Carol, will be calling state track this weekend. Enjoy it, and here's to nice weather.
Well,
right?
thank you, Joanna. I say it's like having birthday and Christmas and Halloween all together at one time. It's my favorite 2 days of the year.
That's great.
So I can't wait.
Well, thank you so much, and also congratulations to Don when you see him. He's got a new grandbaby. So on that note, thank you so much for watching the VarsityKansas.com Big Show. Good luck to all the teams across the state competing: baseball, softball, soccer. Today I'll be out at state golf, so good luck to those golfers too. Thank you so much for watching the VarsityKansas.com Big Show.